Good morning, beautiful people. It is Tuesday, April 28th, one day after the Pentagon just says, yep, UFOs are real, man. Here's a couple videos of them. The interesting thing is they released all those videos. I've seen those videos before on interesting websites and documentaries and stuff like that. So how did I get them?
That's a good question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the Pentagon is just finally deciding to release those videos, it's like, how did I see those like a year ago or 2 years ago? That's weird.
Whistleblowers.
We should talk to those people about what else is going on. Big day. Obviously, 2020 is absolutely ridiculous. So just tacking on the fact that the Pentagon says, yeah, UFOs are real. It's just a little thing on top. And if you want to get deeper and take some vitamins, be like, well, if UFOs are real, then that means what's driving those or flying those? It's like, okay, so where are those? Are those inside of our moon? Are those inside Mars? Are those in another universe? What do we got to do? And then you don't. You just say, well, I don't have time to think about that. So let's just bury that wonder or anything just deep down for another day. And today is not a day I'll start talking about that because we have a big conversation. In about 28 minutes, we have the general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers, Tom Telesco, joining us. I have a lot of questions for him. Tom Telesco, if you don't know and hadn't heard the story, he's the reason why I was an Indianapolis Colt. He came to the Meineke Car Care Bowl my senior year. We were playing against North Carolina. It was the game that Akeem Hicks caught the ball coming out of his ass across the middle. His hands were the size of actual oven mitts. Like he had these massive hands. He was being scouted out of North Carolina, playing wide receiver. He ran across the middle, a ball got tipped or whatever, and he caught it while running full sprint, like literally as if he gave birth to the ball. And it was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. And Tom Telesco was actually there looking at him. And also on my team, obviously, Pat White and many others. But he arrived early for the game, was in the stadium early. And he saw me go through an entire 45-minute kicking session, almost an hour kicking session. And I was doing it because it was my last game with a lot of my friends because they all redshirted. I did not redshirt. So that was going to be my last game. I was just out there having a good time, basically. Turns out Tom Telesco saw it, told Bill Polian, hey, we got a guy down here in West Virginia. I get drafted to the Colts. Now he's the general manager of the Chargers. He was a Polian for a long time. With the 6th pick, he took Justin Herbert. If Tua would have been there, would he have taken Tua? How about whenever Cam Newton was allegedly on the trading block? Did he ever think about that? And whenever he got released, did you think, oh, maybe this changes our drafts thing? I don't know. You drafted a guy named Kenneth Murray who 3 years ago predicted he was going to be a first-round draft pick. Excited to chat about that. Everything. Is Tyrod Taylor a quarterback next year? How long is Herbert sitting? I got a lot of questions. Can't wait to talk to him. And a guy who, to be honest, I never thought I would have on the show. We have bookers, though, that booked the show, and I don't think they asked me about every single guest, but Trent Dilfer's coming on in the second hour. He was the one training Tua, obviously down in Nashville. He's Dilfer Dimes. He's a big Elite 11 coach, but he is very much a hater of the brand. I mean, this guy has bashed kicking and punting on the internet before and on television. So I hold those feelings very near and dear, and I'll probably have to ask him about it, but probably get some Tua information as well. Did he know that Tua was going to potentially not drop when everybody else was saying he was going to drop? What was that all like? Also, training while a tornado's happening and in quarantine, coming off a hip surgery. This should be a good conversation. Dustin Colquitt was released by the Kansas City Chiefs. I reacted to that here in about a second. And we got a good day. I want you to call us, 1-833-622-3331, or get in the comment section at our YouTube, youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. Evan Foxy, please play some Chase Ride.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
You're damn right, Liz. I'm with all the boys at Nick Moraldo, at Tone Diggs, great watch, Diggs, at Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Zito, Evan Fox, and on the phones, 1-833-622-3331. The man that'll be answering your calls is a guy that took his junior year of high school twice.
Oh, my sweet peaches, you guys have a nice offense in here.
Are you, where are you from, Louisiana or Texas? I can't really tell what that accent.
I can't tell either, brother, but it's from below Virginia.
Oh, you're from Virginia.
Below Virginia, my friend.
Okay, what do you do down there, pal?
You know, stuff with molasses and stuff like that.
You look like a guy who's housed a few things of moonshine in your day. Is that accurate assessment?
1 or 2 moonshine, 1 or 2 cigarettes. You know how it is.
How did this come about?
I don't know.
Shirt says Montana.
Yeah, and how about how in your first year of junior year of high school did they not teach you that you shouldn't act like this in public? And then you go along to the second year
Yes,
of
sir.
junior year of high school, and they still don't teach you that you shouldn't act like this in public or on camera.
Yes, sir. I've never been a good listener, and that has always been my problem. But here we are, still breathing, and those teachers can eat it, as they say.
Is this all show you're going to be like this, or is this just
I
for this
don't-
one little part here?
I don't know. It's going to be pretty difficult, actually. I don't know how Ty does this stuff. It is brutal.
Ty was stuck in Mad Mel Kiper for 5-6 hours, and then you went home, and I guess you couldn't get out of
I was
it.
doing it all weekend.
I would love to see your fiance. Gonna go to the grocery store.
Yeah, it was bad.
The cadence, I assume, was tough.
It was impossible to get out of. I'm still like, even when like I'll kind of get worked up, I'll just kind of find myself going back into it.
The people love Mad Mel. Mad Mel was a guy that was a fan favorite. I said this numerous times, and I'm sure everybody's heard me say it. A lot of people had no idea who you were. They just said that angry Mel Kiper is what they said. You got to be Mad Mel, though. That's
I like
just,
Mad Mel.
Mad Mel is just a
Alliteration.
lot better. Yeah, it's a lot better. But Mad Mel is their favorite human they've ever seen. That hair flip, when you said the, damn it. I mean, the hair flip just in the cut by Foxy on the time to see. I mean, it was, and by the way, I don't know what I was going to say, but I'm happy. I'm happy you said whatever the hell you said. Oh, man, that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. Here we are, days after that decision, and it still doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's almost getting worse at this point.
It definitely is getting worse.
Because the more and more information and stats that come out, they're like, hey, by the way, out of all these quarterbacks, here's all the touchdowns they've thrown to first-round draft picks. And you got, like, you name it, the gamut of superstar quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. It's like Breeze, Brady. Do we have that picture?
No. I sent it to the group chat.
It's like Breeze, Brady, all these people. Aaron Rodgers has one. I think the number that Drew Brees has is in the thousands, I think, or something along those. I think Tom Brady is up there near like 17,000 touchdowns to first rounders. And at the very bottom, all by himself, Aaron Rodgers with one. And that just, yeah, here we go. Breeze has 104 touchdown passes to first round picks. Tom Brady has 105. Peyton Manning, 293. Brett Favre, 127. So what happened? What happened? If Brett Favre had 127, were those all with the Vikings and the Jets? Where did those all come from?
That's a good question. I don't know.
And Marino had 84. Phillip Rivers only 35. By the way, Antonio Gates, you got to remember, he was, from Kent State playing basketball or whatever. And then Aaron Rodgers is there with one. Roethlisberger was 69. I don't think I could imagine a better thing for him.
And the Packers didn't draft Mercedes Lewis.
No, he got brought in as a free agent like year 8 or something like that.
Yeah, he's been in the league for a while.
That is great player, by the way.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
why he's been in the league a long time. But that is the fact that, by the way, Cole Kublik, who took my spot on XFL with that incredible stat before everybody, by the way, he beat everybody to that stat. And if Cole Kublik, former offensive lineman, I believe, in the SEC, is that right?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Am I saying his name right too? I think I am.
think
Right?
so.
Sounds
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I met him once. Cole, good guy, great guy, a guy you want to drink beers with. Actually, I think Foxy and I actually did. Good guy, big fan of the guy. But how did he find this stat? Was he just listening to everybody talk about how Aaron's never had any weapons, and he's like, let's see if this is actually worth it. And then he's in quarantine, right? So he's like, I got nothing else to do. So he takes his bald-headed, handsome ass to a computer and just starts searching and doing the numbers, and he's like, Aaron Rodgers only thrown one touchdown to a first-round draft pick. Yeah. You know why people are first-round draft picks? Because they're explosive, because they're fast, because there's something that you can't pass up on. The fact that at a position that revolves around being fast, explosive, and all that stuff hasn't been taken in the first round just because you don't need it. But you know why? Because we have Aaron Rodgers. He can throw everybody open. They don't have to be as explosive and break out of their cuts better than everybody else because Aaron Rodgers can drop the ball in a basket and it doesn't matter. If you could ever fathom watching a team in thinking that if you're the general manager, you want to be the star of this team. The easiest way to do it would be get the quarterback that's everybody was regarded as the most talented quarterback to ever play. Get him the hell out of here. I want my guy in here because I want it. And I feel like that's what Gunther is doing, and it makes absolutely no sense. We're watching The Last Dance with Jerry Krause. Mm-hmm. And, there were some good times with Jerry Krause when they were dancing on that plane. They understood it was a business. Scottie Pippen and he got into it a few times. They weren't paying him. Then he tried to trade him and all that stuff. But whenever Jerry Krause wasn't getting enough credit, right, Jerry Krause wanted to get a little bit more credit. So that's why he wanted to rebuild a team and start. Whenever you got Aaron Rodgers, why are you taking that mentality? Why are you doing that? Just, you know what? For another year or two, just go ahead and swallow it up that you've sucked at your job and Aaron Rodgers has made you guys win games. Just swallow that. Just take it. And just understand that the guy isn't just a guy that you can replace and plug in place and prepare for 4 years out. There might be a redshirt sophomore right now that nobody's ever heard of that's going to come into the league next year. And in 2 years, you can draft that guy, by the way. Mm-hmm. And he'll probably be a dual threat quarterback because that's the way the game's going. How about the kid out of Ole Miss who was a freshman this past year who put up 500 yards against LSU as a dual threat quarterback? They said if he was a running back, he'd be the best running back in the SEC if he wanted to be. He's a quarterback. He'll be out in a couple years. There's another guy that you can get. If you want this offense that's a dual threat offense, I think you have time to do that. But why not try to go all in with your guy right now? That's the conversation and question that everybody's asking, including us. And that's a guy who, best friend of mine. And I hate that his years here feel like they're getting wasted whenever he said on our show the other day, when he retires, he'll be 40. That's over 2 decades to a sport. Feels like I'll have to figure it out there. This guy is giving it all. And he's like, yo, let's go. Let's try to get this thing because he still has the ability. I still don't get it here now. How many days are we after now? 5 days afterwards?
Yeah.
I still don't get it. It makes no sense to me.
Well, and the thing that is driving me insane is now you see all these people basically trying to justify what they did. It's like, hey, listen, we made it last year. The front office has done plenty to get Rodgers in a position to succeed. It's like, well,
there was somebody on television this morning, and I won't say his name because, normally I would. Normally I would. I'm not saying it.
Not worth it.
Not worth it. Because this guy is a bitch. So I'm not going to say it. But there are some people saying some reckless things about Aaron Rodgers right now and about the Packers. And it's like, yo, come on, bro. This morning, when I woke up, normally I'll roll out of bed. Well, first of all, I'll hit snooze. Mm-hmm. I get 9 more minutes, snooze. My new move, because I don't want to, so I have a side table next to my bed or whatever. What's that called? That's
nightstand.
Called a nightstand. Yeah, I have a nightstand next to my bed. And that's where my phone lives at night, okay? I got like 45 bottles of water that are either all half drunk, full drunk, or completely full, And I put my remotes to my TV, by the way, because one remote runs the television, one remote runs the Xfinity box. Mm-hmm. Because we, at one point, had one remote that could do both, but then that box just quit. So then they brought in a new box with a new remote. So now I had to keep the old box's remote for the television and now the new remote for the. And I'm assuming there's a way for me to fix this. But I ain't got time to run through the damn number. You got to guess that. I don't have time for it.
No way.
No. So we got both. So both remotes are over there. The phone, the bottles, and then maybe some residue of like Easter eggs from Reese's. Nice. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So in the morning when I wake up, I try to grab that thing and I go with the charger as opposed to the phone, right? So I go looking for the charger. Mm-hmm. So I pull that over. Today I was a little bit more inside. I didn't want to put the back. I didn't want to put it all the way back. So I put it under my pillow. Okay. I passed out. 9 minutes later, I thought I was in Vietnam. It was vibrating through my phone. Okay, maybe it's the move that I should start doing, by the way, because it got me up stat. I get up, I undo my phone, I say bye to my lady or whatever. Then I pet my dog that's at the foot of the bed. Mm-hmm. Then I shut the thing in the bathroom, and I go right to the John. Okay, and when I go to the John, that's what I'm learning, everything that happened overnight. The first thing I see, Dustin Colquitt says, I'm leaving the Chiefs after 15 years. Mm-hmm. That dump went from like a celebration, oh my God, I'm wide awake, to just a misery dump all of a sudden. I was so sad. Dustin Colquitt finally gets a good football team. The guy who was there for 15 years finally gets a good squad, and now he's being released. And by the way, I think Dustin Colquitt, anybody that understands the business of football knows that this is a very smart decision by the Kansas City Chiefs. Dustin Colquitt understands that offense probably not going to be punting a lot for a long time. Now, granted, those punts will be important, and you will need a good punter. But if you're not at a minimum contract, I'm assuming Andy Reid and the boys, who are already in a bad spot when it comes to salary cap, said, hey, Dustin, we appreciate everything you've done for 15 years, but the way our team is currently structured, punting is not something that's going to win us games. There are teams that are set up to win by field position. They have a great defense. They maybe have a run game, field position, away you go. Kansas City Chiefs aren't that way, and your contract isn't a minimum contract. We save $2 million if we get rid of you. We appreciate you. I think, and I might be mistaken here, I think Dustin Colquitt is going to have a few suitors that are going to want him to come bomb balls for them. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, a place where his dad played, I believe. I think his dad played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that feels like a pretty good landing spot for old Dustin Colquitt. And that's a team, by the way, very good. Almost made it to the playoffs last year when everybody knew that they shouldn't. Our guy Duck Hodges was just, swimming his little ass through. And then that Buffalo Bills defense was a buzzsaw at the only game we went to. He was undefeated until we went to a game.
Yeah. They would have made it this season with the expanded playoffs.
Exactly. All right, there we go. There we go. But now you got Big Ben Roethlisberger with the Rookie of the Year on back. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I assume that's where he's going to head up. I have not talked to him. I think the people of Kansas City love him for good reason. Hell of a punter, hell of a bomber. I mean, the guy, and he was a good dude. He would always take time to help me whenever I was young because he was older than me and he had perfect form. He was just a good guy. He's going to have another team. I assume, I'm thinking the Pittsburgh Steelers are the right fit. I don't know how much Tomlin's going to want to pay for a punter or Colbert's going to want to pay. Tomlin always told me before games, hey, wait, I'm going to bring you back home when you're old and cheap. And I was like, well, I'm never going to be cheap. And I don't know if Colquitt's going to be either because I assume that they may have presented a potential restructure of his contract. But if you sign somebody on a rookie contract, a rookie minimum contract to punt for you, who can kind of get by for the next couple years until you can restructure your entire roster, basically, what you're going to have to do with Patrick Mahomes, this seems like the smart decision. And it's a bummer because I loved watching the Chiefs bomber for all those times. And he had a couple big-time punts this year that won't get talked about because the offense is so damn good. But I think he still is going to punt.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I mean, if you do talk to him and want to put Pittsburgh in his head, like I think everyone in that city is fine with that.
Dustin, by the way, I think I know Yinzers pretty well at this point. Jordan Berry has a massive leg, bait from Australia. One of maybe the biggest ball I've ever seen in a warm-up before. I was just coming onto the field. He was already punting, and I saw him hit a ball, and I was like, oh, my God. So then I talked to their special teams coach, who's a good friend of mine, Danny Smith, and I go, holy hell. You got a guy that bombs the ball, and he chooses. I know. He gives me an entire thing, but then you watch him in the games, and he's only batting like 40% or 50%. He hits one good one, one bad one. That's the difference between an NFL punter and college punters. Everybody in the NFL can punt the ball far. Who can punt it 80, 90% of the time well as opposed to missing? And Pittsburgh is not an easy place to kick. I think if Jordan Berry worked on his technique a little bit and maybe got to an easier spot to kick, like a dome somewhere full time, I think he'd be much better off. But Dustin Colquitt's a guy that can thrive in any condition, literally. Kansas City is not an easy place to punt. That is not an easy place to punt at all, and he's done very well. He goes to Pittsburgh. You got Boz kicking and kicking off. That's a good special teams unit that can win you some real games.
At least he got a ring before this happened.
I wonder if Andy Reid was thinking about cutting him last year. He's like, he's been here so long. We've been
One more year.
Jeez, we can hold on to one more year. It's getting close on the salary cap. Good for Dustin. I'm happy for him wherever he goes. I think he's going to continue to go. Last year, he hit some nukes still in his 15th year, which is so impressive. So impressive. I've been hitting some big balls in the backyard as well. 19 minutes after the hour, we're going to get to the break. 1-833-622-3331. We want to talk to you. We'll probably do that during the break. Then Tom Telesco in 11 minutes. I'm pretty pumped up about that.
Yeah. Let's go.
Hey, there's going to be some things that are going to come out of that other people are going to have to talk about.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. That's what we do. All right. We'll see you on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Let's go to James in New Hampshire. James, I have questions. James, did you
Yes,
go?
sir.
Did you go to a school that was a part of the Independent School League?
What's that?
Have you ever heard of the Independent School League up there in New England?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
Did
so
I go there? No.
why didn't you go there?
Stuck driving truck. Figured I'd do that instead.
Well, I didn't know Connor was a private school kid. He went to junior year twice. He was a part of the ISL, which I guess is an entire,
Oh, yeah?
I guess it's a New England thing. His team would travel from Massachusetts all over New England playing other ISL teams. I learned a lot this morning about New England high schools and New England high school football. I had no idea you could just
Oh,
say, I had no idea you could just say, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to do my junior year again.
Good time.
You can do that in New England.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I'm sorry. Let's go back. James, what do you want to talk about, bub?
Well, first off, I just want to say I tried calling you guys yesterday, and about the whole Kareem Butler thing, I thought that was pretty funny, and I figured you should use that as a term now for guys who should be taking their profession a little more seriously.
Kareem Butler
Instead of
doesn't
going out
deserve that.
partying and boozing.
Scotty
So you
Burrell.
can just call that guy, what's his name, Kareem Butler or whatever.
His name was Scotty Burrell, is what I learned.
Oh.
Yeah, I got.
But,
okay, I'll go.
What's
fuck
that?
this. Nah, don't worry about it. What do you want to talk about?
So anyway, my question is the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. So he was looking for help. They said that they're going to give him help, and what they do, they move up in the draft to potentially get his successor. So the question really is do you think that in the near future Rodgers would probably do a Brady and say, you know what, you're not giving me any help, I'm fed up, I'm going to go somewhere where they're going to listen to me and get the help that I need? Who knows? You know, Brady got Gronk. Maybe Rodgers could get Cobb or somebody.
Okay. Those are not comparable.
Gronk and Randall Cobb, yeah.
New England took a wide receiver in the first round last year. And
For
then
the first time in 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Exactly, but
I
they
think
did
they're
it.
all in on Stidham.
Oh, yeah.
Or is Belichick embracing the tank? Is Belichick saying, you know what?
no way.
I'm going to be the best at being the worst, too. People think we can just be the best. I'm going to be the best at being the worst. Wait till you see what I do. For the second round of the draft, I'm going to have my fucking dog announce the pick. And I'm going to pick a Division II player that nobody ever heard of. What if Bill Belichick's like, oh, yeah, no, those games, we lost games. And then Trevor Lawrence ends up a Patriot.
Love it.
That would be awesome.
Could happen.
I have no idea how much time we have until radio. I'll have to wait. There it is. We got 1 minute in our ear was just announced. We'll see you then. This is the Pat McAfee Show. This is a banger. What is this?
Oh, Pistol Hawk. by
Pistol
Twine.
Hawk?
Twine. Big time listener show sent this in.
PJ's dad? This song is called Pistol Hawk. I gave birth to an AJ. Big chin is what all of they say. They say big chin. Shovel fucking. Whoa. Dawn got to dump that.
It happens.
Jeez.
It's just it's tough to do.
When you're talking about Pistol Hawk, too.
It's hard to go on and off, because they're during the commercial breaks. I feel like I've done that a lot, by the way, here for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Where during the breaks, I've turned it off completely, and then I just flip to switching on. And I just want to let everybody know, inside of my head, I've been very impressed with me being able to do it, because that I didn't think I would be able to. And we just learned I'm no longer batting 1,000. I am no longer batting 1,000. Let's go to Udi in Florida.
Hey, what's up, Pat? How you doing on this fine Tuesday morning?
Hey, not too shabby, Udi. You know D?
What was that?
Do you know D?
Do I know D?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. It's a great answer, by the way. That's a great answer.
Before I get to what I was saying, I just want to mention that, I've been trying my hardest to reach out to the right people and vouch for you for ESPN on Monday Night Football.
Oh,
Anyone could take over Booger. No offense to Mr. McFarland, but if they choose you, their ratings will shoot up higher than a rocket made by Elon Musk to the moon.
Thank you. Because if it was Mad Mike's rocket, that thing, you know what I mean? Rest in peace to Mad Mike. But Elon Musk, that's a good rocket that you want to be compared to, obviously. That one goes up and comes down peacefully. Yes. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Udi. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, no. So what I wanted to say is, I've been seeing your posts on Twitter, and I see you've been bombing in the backyard. My question is obviously you've made it clear that you kind of want the Buccaneers to sign you, but me being an avid Steelers fan, and you mentioned earlier about Jordan Berry, he's got a little bit of stage fright, which isn't a bad thing. Clearly, Heinz Field isn't his field. Would you, if let's say another team would give you an offer, would you think about that? Not the Buccaneers per se.
Great question, Udi. I have to figure out whether or not I can kick balls or not, right? Which is an interesting situation to be in. Because going out there and kicking, I'll do good. Like yesterday, I had a great day. Yesterday, I was seeing balls fly like they used to fly, which is insane because it's only 4 days back. I'm in much better physical shape with my legs than I was last year when I gave this a go. Last year, I wasn't ready. And I didn't. No offense to Chicago. I don't think I took it as serious as this could potentially be, but I got to get in shape before I expect anybody to sign me anywhere. And I'm going to have to work out and try out. I very much understand that. So would I go to any other team? No. There's definitely a pinky ring Super Bowl ring that I think would be hilarious. I think if my pinky ring, especially because I'm 0.09% Italian now, if my pinky ring was a Super Bowl ring, that would be hysterical. And I would never wear it, only on big occasions. But when I did, I'd walk in, drop one of these, and put that pinky ring down. It would be a whole new game changer.
The weather is not anywhere close to, but what about the defending Super Bowl champion?
I know, Kansas City. I don't know if I'm cheap enough, though. I think I'm a veteran. I'd be a veteran min as opposed to a rookie min.
Yeah.
So it's like a $500,000 difference. So then you'd only be saving $1.5 million as opposed to a full $2 million or whatever. So I don't know. We should call Tom Telesco if we can. Get him. Should we go to a break now for radio? How long? Did they say anything about how long we had Tom Telesco?
No, not that I saw.
He's a friend of the show.
Yeah,
he's been in our thing.
Take me to the end of the hour.
Just a nice 28-minute conversation.
Yeah, why not?
Hey, Tom, tell me about that ping pong table I saw in your entire thing. All right, let's go to a break for radio. We will answer some YouTube questions during the break. Don't call him yet, actually. Is he on right now? Tom, can you hear me right now?
I can hear you.
Okay, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to go to a break, or would you rather just start this conversation now and we'll go to a break in like 15 minutes?
You do what's best for your show.
I don't know. Tom, I don't know what is best for I'll go right now. Let's go right now and we'll get to a break later. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, General Manager of Los Angeles Chargers, and the reason why I ended up as an Indianapolis Colt, Tom Telesco. Tom, that chandelier over your right shoulder look at you living nice out there. Look at you. That's a beautiful place. Was that where the setup was for your draft? And how?
Yeah, pretty much. I was on the other side of the table, but yeah, this was the setup in the dining room.
How interesting was that? It was nice to get a shot at everybody's thing. Did you enjoy that or hate that whole thought about being from home and kind of being isolated a little bit?
About 5 weeks ago, I hated the idea. We're all creatures of habit of how we do the draft, and I'm big on preparation, obviously. So to make that big a change 5 weeks ago, I didn't think it would be able to happen. But as we kind of moved through the process and all the people involved with getting this done, not just our scouts and coaches, but IT people, video, everybody. By the time we got to the finished product this past weekend, it was a blast. It was great. It was fun. It was fun to be around the family. It was a once in a lifetime experience to do that with my kids here, my wife. And we still got everything done the way we usually would do it. So, it worked out great.
I assume that 5 weeks ago was when the general managers took a vote, and then that message was relayed to somebody. Because Schefter reported that the general managers have voted unanimously to delay the draft or something like that. And then Goodell came back with a letter from the executive committee and was like, we're going to go on as is. We'll figure this out as we go. Is that kind of the way this whole thing went? And then as you guys were trying to figure it out, what were some questions that were being raised? Was people hacking into things really a concern of you guys?
Well, first of all, it wasn't unanimous, I think, among GMs, but we were asked our opinions. So some of us gave our opinions. But I'm really glad that leadership kind of saw the vision to proceed with this, because it ended up being a great event. We got everything done we had to get done. The concerns back then, I think, were just every state had different stay-at-home policies and laws. So we didn't know if some teams could be in their office, some teams have to be at home. And then it was just the whole logistical nature of wiring our houses for landlines and the internet to make sure everything gets done, and then being able to communicate with everybody. I mean, a draft is not just the GM sitting at a table making picks. I mean, there are so many people involved. On draft day, there's 40 or 50 people that I can communicate with at any time. So there's a lot of that goes into it. So that was the concerns then. But everything got worked out. We had a great plan put together, and I'm glad we did it. That's the biggest. I'm glad we did it. I think it was great for the country to watch something like that happen. And we got all our work done the same way we would have done it. And we probably learned some things about how we function that we may change next year.
Yeah, it was an incredible distraction for everybody. I mean, it was from Roger Goodell in his basement on his chair with some M&Ms to Billy O'Brien blowing up over something happened. I mean, it was must-see television. And I'm going to be honest, whenever it got to pick number 5, everybody was intrigued on what was going to happen. The conversation was 5, 6 are going to be quarterbacks. And then a couple of days before the draft, it came out Miami was thinking offensive tackle. They weren't even thinking quarterback. How were you preparing going into 5 and 6, your pick at 6? What were do you run through, like, if this happens, then this? Because there was talks that Redskins were trying to get traded out of there. There was people that were trying to get up to 3. Do you run through all those situations in your head when you're sitting at 6 and is potentially getting a face of your franchise?
Oh yeah. You're thinking like a GM right now. Those 2 weeks going into the draft, all you're thinking about is scenarios. What could happen, and if this happens, what would we do? So, literally, probably every rumor I heard, I went through my head of how would we handle this if this happened. Now, the whole Miami taking a tackle at 3, maybe they really were. I just didn't believe that one, but I don't really know. So you kind of make plans. You talk with your head coach. You talk with your personnel staff about, hey, if this happens, how would we do this? We talk about trading up and trading down in different situations. You go through every single situation. So when you're on the clock, with that clock ticking down and making your pick, at that point, you're not discussing what you want to do. You've already decided.
If Justin Herbert goes 5 to Miami, is Tua a Los Angeles Charger?
Yeah, we felt great about both guys. Well, actually, we felt great about all 3 quarterbacks that went in the top 6. So all 3 are going to be really good players in this league, and that it's a comforting factor to know. I mean, hopefully we don't pick 6 very often.
True.
If we do, I won't be making very many picks here. So if you're going to pick this high, and there's a potential down the road franchise quarterback there that you like, you have to take them. And we were lucky to have some quarterbacks there in this draft that were really good players.
What did you like about Herbert? Was it because we had him on the show? He was cool, man. He was just he felt like he was one of us, Tom? Like he felt like a cool guy.
Ah, boy.
He's going to want to go to work.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's a great thing.
He's a very competitive person. His physical traits are, first of all, he's a big man. He's like 6'6", 240. He almost looks like a tight end, but fast, athletic, big, strong arm. But he has all the quarterback intangibles that we're looking for. He's competitive, he's tough, he's smart, and he also knows he has points of his game that he needs to work on. He doesn't have all the answers, and we think we have the coaching staff here and the resources to work with them and develop and grow them.
Before we talk about Tyrod Taylor, who is going to be instrumental here to Justin Herbert's growth, I would believe, in your eyes, let's talk about Tua real quick. I don't want to go backwards, but I have to ask you this question because I'm not 100% sure how many people were in a position to actually draft Tua that got a chance to evaluate him. How big was the injuries thing for you? How big was the injury concern for you? And who did you reach out to be like, you know what, he'll be okay in the NFL?
Yeah, it's certainly a concern. It can't not be. So the good thing is, thank God we had the combine before this pandemic really broke out. So we got a physical on every single player there, including Tua. We got a very good physical there, had a good feeling for what was going on. His agents kept in touch with all the teams I think that had interest as far as all the updates from different doctors across the country. I had our doctors reach out to his doctors, and I also reached out to some independent doctors just asking about this injury, because the type of injury he had, we don't see very often in football. Knees and shoulders and ankles, we see those a lot, but the type of injury he had wasn't always predictable. So yes, a lot of medical work with doctors and trainers. And it came down to the fact that, there's some concern there, but we think he'd be okay.
That's awesome to hear. Justin Herbert now is potentially your franchise quarterback. I mean, he has to know that that's the expectation if you're getting picked 6, but you can't say that because you're the boss. But you have Tyrod Taylor there. You've said on this show and plenty of other shows, we are comfortable with Tyrod Taylor. You were in the Tom Brady sweepstakes. Tom Brady ends up at Tampa. You said before Tom Brady sweepstakes were over that we are comfortable with Tyrod Taylor being on our team. What is the notion going forward? Is Tyrod going to be coaching up Justin Herbert, or are you still trying to figure out everything as it goes?
I mean, Tyrod's going to be, he's a starting quarterback as of right now. So, and that's what we kind of anticipate. And we're, like I said, we're comfortable and happy with that. We're very lucky to have him. We think he can run our offense very well. His teammates really respect him, and the coaches respect him. And he has a great feel for what we do right now. Our offseason program is I don't know what our offseason program is going to be right now. It's really just virtual. We're not going to be on the grass. I don't know when we'll be on the grass. So, Tyrod's an experienced quarterback. He's played in this offense before. He knows his teammates well. His teammates know him. So, but his natural feel is he's a great mentor to young quarterbacks. He was a great mentor last year to Easton Stick, who we have on the roster as well. He'll be a great mentor with Justin Herbert, and we'll let all the guys compete and grow. And when Justin's times come, it will come. When that is, I don't really know.
I thought, I've said this on numerous occasions, if Andrew got to sit behind Peyton for a year, Andrew would have been we'd be telling a very different Andrew Luck story, because he would have got a chance to watch how Peyton talks and handles things. So getting a chance to sit behind an experienced quarterback is a big deal. Tyrod Taylor made some ripples on the internet when he posted a photo with Cam Newton. Cam Newton, whenever he was a potential trade for the Carolina Panthers, did you guys and everybody who was potentially interested in Cam Newton, I'm not saying you guys were, and you guys have shown no indications that you were, but if you know a player is probably getting cut, is there ever a thought like, hey, we're going to trade for that guy? Or is there the thought like, hey, let's wait till he gets cut and see what happens there?
In those situations, you do kind of evaluate if you feel like he's going to be released, but there will be a lot of competition for a particular player, you may look to trade for him. Sometimes it depends what his contract is coming back to you. But there may be some instances where you feel like, look, that we don't think there'll be very many trade options. We can sit and wait for a team to let a player go. And at that point, we can negotiate any contract we want at that point. So it's kind of a case-by-case basis.
Did you guys ever think about Cam Newton? And the reason why everybody else expected you guys to potentially make a run at Cam Newton is because you were in the Tom Brady sweepstakes, and Cam Newton is an experienced veteran who would have big personality, charisma, especially to a team moving to a new stadium. Was there ever a thought about Cam Newton, or was like, hey, Tyrod Taylor, and then we need to get a young guy that we can groom for the future?
Yeah, I get all that, and the whole Tom Brady thing, that was just a complete unique circumstance. But absent of Tom Brady, Tyrod Taylor's our quarterback, so we're very happy with them. So yes, we do investigate every single player that gets released. That's what we do for a living. It's all we do all day long. So we have to know everybody who's available and how they may help us. But really, absent of Tom, it's Tyrod's job.
Tom Brady becoming a free agent, by the way, is just in 20 years. I don't know how any GM wouldn't look at that and be like, well, I mean, it's the guy. I mean, there's the guy. You drafted another first-round draft pick was Kenneth Murray. Have you seen his tweet from 3 years ago when he said, catch me in 3 years, I'm going to be a first-round draft pick at outside linebacker?
I did hear about that. There's probably hundreds of thousands of other kids that probably done that same tweet. Maybe I haven't gotten this far. But, that's pretty cool. But you know what? The one thing is with him, and I think he does realize this, being drafted in the NFL is not the end. It's just the beginning. Oh, yeah. But the good thing is he realizes that. I mean, he loves to play football. And that one of the we weren't going to trade up for very many players. He was one of them. His passion of how he plays, his charisma, his leadership, and then his actual playing ability is big time.
Tom, there wasn't a trade in the top 10 of the draft for the first time since like 2015, I think. Is that just how the draft fell, or do you think that had something to do with the GMs and everyone being at home and communication and things like that?
Yeah, I don't think it had anything to do with the communication. To me, and I can't speak for every team in the top 10, I know for us, we had a very strong top 10, 11 players in the draft, like really, really like premium level type players. So if you have a lot of players like that at the top of the draft, there's really no need to feel the trade up. I think you can kind of sit and get a great player. So that's how we saw it. I don't know if other teams saw it the same way, but that's how we were.
How nervous were you going into that draft? That there would be a technology absolute fail somewhere?
Yeah, pretty nervous. And we have good people here too, but I mean, it's never been done before. None of us have done this from our houses before. And we actually had a technical glitch in the 7th round that we had to maneuver around.
Oh, really?
If that would have happened early on, I probably would have had a little bit bigger issue with it, but we got through it.
What are you looking for in those later rounds? Bill Polian was a guy that you obviously learned under, but he was now there's a video circulating of him talking about the honey badger from 7 years ago. It's not great, but Bill Polian has been able to find real gems. We're talking Antoine Bethea, we're talking Robert Mathis, we're talking real Gary Brackett, big time players from round 3 and on. What are you looking for whenever you're trying to grow your team with those guys?
Bill used to tell us, 4th through 7th round college free agents, those players aren't going to have every single trait that you want, because if they did, they'd be drafted much higher. So you have to identify just a couple traits that player has that you think are make it traits that can make it in this league, and really traits that fit your scheme, your culture. So our scouts do a really good job at the back end of the draft and with college free agents, and you're just looking for one or two things you feel we call it make it traits. I'm not going to have everything. So say our 7th round draft pick, KJ Hill. KJ Hill has excellent separation, quickness, excellent hands, great feel for the game. We think those 3 things can really contribute here. Hopefully we'll find out once he gets here and competes for a job. But back end of the draft is not easy. That's where your scouts have to really separate themselves.
So I was picked 222 in round 7. Was my make it trait just the guy has a cannon, he has no idea where it's going though? Was that the make it trait?
Big leg will travel. Oh yeah.
That ping pong table I saw in the original photo of your draft setup.
Yeah,
you get on
right here.
You get on that at all? Is ping pong a hobby of yours?
The kids were on it. I was on it a little bit. Because especially in quarantine right now, we don't have a whole lot to do. So they were actually playing during the draft for a little bit. I had to shut that down.
Tom, incredible draft, incredible job, and I can't thank you enough for joining us. You're a good man.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, thanks for getting me a job with the Colts. Ladies and gentlemen, Los Angeles Chargers General Manager Tom Telesco. Thank you, Tom. Woo! All right, we got to get to a break for radio. Good guy there. I learned a lot.
They had a good draft.
Very interesting. Not interesting, but like good to know that Tua was going to go at 6, whether if he didn't go at 5.
Yeah, guaranteed. We're taking either guy we felt good about. By the way, he's sitting in a good spot. I'll let Miami figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll just be sitting here with whoever they don't take, I'm good with. So Tyrod Taylor starting quarterback, Justin Herbert, Easton Stick, they're going to compete. Herbert is obviously going to be expected to be the face of the franchise, but potentially, he said. Let's not get crazy here. We think he's good, but that's a lot of pressure to put on a guy. Well, 6th pick of the draft. I think he's cool enough to handle it. Great conversation there with the old Tom Telesco. I appreciate him, man.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I appreciate him a lot.
Hell of a chandelier.
That chandelier.
That Chargers helmet in the back looks great too.
Yeah.
Hey, he's living good out there.
Yeah.
I hope their team wins so he can keep himself out there. If you're picking that up that high on a regular basis, I'm probably not making too many picks. That's a classic. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. I have no clue why. I was on a team that was very bad at football. We almost were completely defeated until Dan Orlovsky showed up and got 2 big wins. We ended up almost losing the luck pick because Dan Orlovsky Everybody thinks they're going to get fired. Every player thinks they're going to get cut. Every coach thinks they're going to get fired. They try to pawn blame off on other positional groups. If it's the linebackers, they're like, we did our job. D-line can't do anything, can't stop it. There's a lot of that chatter, but it's a miserable existence. I mean, it's just the way it is. That's why you have to have so much respect for a player like Joe Thomas, who played a perennial all-pro career in a situation that was so negative and so terrible. I think if Joe Thomas got a chance and his knees let him experience a winning organization, I couldn't even fathom what Joe Thomas would have thought. I mean, life is just much better whenever you win. When you win, food tastes better. Drinks taste better. Sex feels better. Everything is better when you win. Winning cures all, they say. That's not just in the building and for a football team. That's in your life. Everything is just better when you win. And when you lose, especially when you're talking about some of the most competitive humans on earth, it is a nightmare. You got a lot of people trying to jump off the ship. You got a lot of people trying to figure it out. And whenever you're in a situation like that, it's just a full-blown nightmare for everybody. You got to think, when you get to the NFL, let's assume that the humans that make it to the NFL have had a lot of success through their lives. High school football, probably one good player, a guy who's going to make the NFL can lead a team to success. In college, if you have a couple good players that can make the NFL and make it to the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins stink, you're still going to make the NFL. Let's assume that team has had success. So then you get to a completely unsuccessful operation, a completely defeated operation, and then it's like, man, this is a whole new life for us. I'll never forget, I had a coach, special teams coach. I won't say his name because this is a terrible thing to say as a coach. We lost the game. It was back in the first regime. We were a good team. We lost the game, and everybody was moping. Like people were not happy that we lost the game the next day. He was, you guys just haven't lost enough. That's what he said. Everybody looked at him and was like, yeah, no crap. What are you talking about, dude? Yeah, this is the winningest decade in NFL history here. Yeah, you haven't lost enough. It's like, you've lost too much, maybe. Are you just comfortable at this point? And that's whenever it can get a little scary. Whenever people are just comfortable just getting their asses kicked every week, that could be a problem. That's when the culture is probably a lost cause. That's when the locker room's too worried about playing dice or playing Boo-Ray or anything else like that. When that starts happening after losses, then you know you're in a bad spot. And I would assume that's not happening at the Dolphins, especially under Ryan Fitzpatrick's watch. But maybe it is. I don't know. But that is a miserable existence. I am not a fan of that.
Let's get it. Let's go. Dream house is a tour bus. Scream loud that you knew us. Deep down on the new plug. You ain't about to get too dust. Pete's frown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the two subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Lead the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body. 210s, both sitting shoddy. Cracking fits, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is 30? Hand me a nap. You probably wasn't expecting this. What? Expected this?
Everyone needs a great pair of wireless earbuds, and you already know Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds on the market, and that they sound just as amazing as other top audio brands you know. Their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise-isolating fit. Raycon's wireless earbuds are so comfortable, they're perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Unlike some of your other wireless options, Raycon earbuds are both stylish and discreet with no dangling wires or stems. You've heard us talk about how the company was co-founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Snoop Dogg, Cardi B, Melissa Etheridge, Brandy, and J.R. Smith are obsessed with Raycons.
Yeah, they are.
Oh yeah, now's the time to see what the hype is all about. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Pat. That's buyraycon.com/Pat for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Buyraycon.com/Pat.
The E25 true wireless earbuds, these things right here.
Oh, yeah.
Best wireless earbuds on the market.
If we could wear wireless earbuds for the show, I'd wear those every day.
Immediately.
I work out in those bad boys.
Yeah.
They got little boom booms to them, you know?
Really?
There's little boom booms. Half the price, same boom boom.
Little bass in there.
You remember when people used to put the boom booms back in the trunk? That was whenever you were first time going through junior year of high school.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, that was your first year of junior high.
No, we had
Junior
him.
year.
We had him the second time I did junior year too. Don't
So
think
is
they
it the
fell off.
same education both years?
Actually, no. I got to take some senior courses my junior year, and I didn't have to take all of those.
Well, it was your
long
senior
junior
year. Yeah, it was your senior year when you were taking senior classes.
Junior year squared.
What did you? What was that?
Junior year squared.
A little two up there, huh?
There's just a 2 up there. There's not as if I was a senior. I was just a junior 2.
I would say if they were to guess in this office who took junior year twice, you would be the guess. I honestly think
Be a
that's
damn good guess.
He'd be first or second.
Oh man, I'm just trying to get a couple minutes here. Let's go to Jacob in New Jersey. Jacob, what's going on, bub?
What's up?
Oh my God. I don't want to do this. What's up, dude?
Sometimes it be like that.
So it do be like that sometimes. What up, Jacob?
Shout out to Connor. I'm on my second year, senior year right now.
That's my guy.
Makes so much sense, Jacob, just from the way you said "sup." Oh man, it's a shame quarantine it's a shame quarantine kind of ruined your second senior year of high school here, man.
Yeah, it's kind of ass right now, but it's okay.
What do you want to talk about, bub?
Well, I'm a Dolphins fan surrounded by Eagles fans, and I'm kind of clowning them because their draft was kind of not good, and mine was a lot better since we got our franchise quarterback.
Jacob. I'm a big fan of Jacob. I mean, the Eagles did draft a quarterback almost immediately after paying a guy $100 million, just like the Packers did.
Right.
But I would assume that we talked about this yesterday. Carson Wentz can be noted as injury prone. He hasn't played long enough, and he's been injured. So Aaron Rodgers cannot. Aaron Rodgers has played only 2 times. He's gotten hurt. He's played throughout his day. He hasn't had the durability of Brett Favre or Peyton Manning in them, but he's also a lot more, if Carson gets hurt this next year, Jalen Hurts, good guy to go in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't ask Tom Telesco. Who was the next quarterback on the board?
Oh, yeah.
On his board.
Notice
Was
he
it Jordan Love?
Notice he said he felt really good about the first 3 guys drafted.
Not that.
Didn't mention that 4th guy.
Do I ask him about somebody else's business? That was running through my head a lot. I was like, would you ever, if you had Peyton Manning, would you guys have ever traded up in the first round when he had 40 years left on his contract? Just to hear what he would have said, but that would have put him in a terrible position, and he would never came back on. It's nice to have general managers on your show. You learn a lot about the BS that's getting tossed out there. He was awesome, old Tom Telesco. Big thanks to him. Second hour, we got Trent Dilfer joining us. I honestly don't know how that's going to go. Anytime it's on television, I change it. So, yeah. Can't wait to talk to him. We'll be back on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Tuesday, April 28th. there's a picture in our slideshow that we have going up on our YouTube. It's you, Troy, and Roger Goodell talking. Has there ever been a time where Roger Goodell has come up to you and asked you why you said the things that you said?
No, that's a great question. I think a lot of people believe that happens. I can only tell you from where I sit, I've never, and it's been, whether it's been Bud Selig and Major League. Actually, I take that back. One time I got called on the carpet. I'll tell you about that in a second. But as far as Rodgers concerned, no. Now, he may say things that he doesn't like to my boss, Eric Shanks, and that gets filtered down to Troy and me. I think sometimes it does have to do with officiating, like you guys talked about earlier. I think, they get tired of officials getting picked on. But sometimes, when it's flag after flag after flag and you're sitting there on live TV, there's not a whole lot to say other than if you thought the call was any good or not. And we've got Mike Pereira standing there with us, who brings tremendous value and is kind of the godfather of all these officials that have gone into TV. But yeah, no, I never said, hey, why did you guys say this to me ever? Selig one time got mad at me because I went on, I think it was Colin Cowherd's show when he was at ESPN, and Colin asked me what I do at night when I'm not doing a game. Am I watching West Coast baseball feeds? And I said, I'm a married guy. I've got young girls at the time. I said, I'm watching The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. And that kind of went viral and acted like I didn't watch baseball, which is, I feel like I've watched a ton of baseball in my life, but I was being honest. And it pissed him off because it went everywhere. And it was like, Joe Buck doesn't even watch baseball. Why should you? And I can see why he got mad, but, after we talked for about 2 minutes, he was great, and we just moved on to whatever was the next topic.
Bud, have you ever seen a rose ceremony, dude?
Right, yeah. But yeah, Chris Harrison. I think we should switch jobs sometime. Harrison should come over and call a World Series, and I'll just duck my head in and go, gentlemen, the final rose.
You want to fornicate with me? You either get on the train or you're laying on the tracks getting run over. It's their sandbox. You got to play by their rules. But at some point, Goodell has to come out and be like, yo, kick him out of the league. I do not get cramps in my hands when I'm writing checks.
He definitely deserves an apology, and that's my bad on that.
Work-life balance is a load of crap.
He's taking a bunch of average Joes.
Some of these younger guys, they're so confident in their ability that they don't think they need any advice.
Like, what are you doing? You don't see the best teams doing that.
It's just finding a way to be better today than you were yesterday.
One bad decision can affect the rest of your life.
Come on, Chicago! Let's hug it out, you little bitches!
If I would have had Aaron Donald at D tackle, they couldn't even line up and play football.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Our essence is not infinite. Let's make our todays better than our yesterdays, because we truly have no idea if tomorrow will ever come. One fucking page.
I don't have to worry about the coronavirus anymore.
Like a fucking bomb went off. It's like,
Dude, I saw there was the fucking net. Oh, dude, what's going on? Everyone's a comedian, right? Steve Jobs used to dip his feet in toilet water randomly.
I bet they still smelled better than yours. Dude. Yours a woman?
I
Are
can
you? You're
see
a
Tony's brain cells just exploding into thin air.
Do you think that steer ever looks back at you and goes, son of a
Is that when you
bitch,
tie
you
the
got
legs?
big one.
I'm sold! I'm in! He got me!
Suck it. Oh, guys.
Jame, duty, mensch.
These guys got in there, undid their suitcases, just dumped all their clothes.
Well, you have to remember.
Well, yeah, not for me.
What's the matter with a Jeez, son of a bitch. Can I not get the alcoholic cowboys? And, babe, it's time to go to war.
Welcome to the pod. vacation, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
You're damn right it is. Chase Wrestling with all the boys: Nick Moraldo, Tone Diggs, Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Zito, Evan Foxy, and Mr. Junior Year of High School Squared, Boston Connor.
Oh, I tell you what, I love that second year, junior year.
Once again, Boston Connor can't figure out what accent he wants to do for the day. But that's out of Virginia, right?
That's right. There's my Virginia accent. I might hit
Is this because you guys watch Django Unchained?
I can't confirm or not, sir.
Hey, by the way, you picked the wrong side of that movie. You picked the bad guys to be.
This is not because we watch Django Unchained, so this is because the sweet, sweet South just deserves a little bit of respect on a Tuesday.
Okay, how do you feel about NASCAR, sir?
I'm back to normal. I'm not talking about the NASCAR.
Oh, is it because it was potentially going to lead to
I know where that road was leading, so I got out of the car and turned it off.
Good NASCAR talk. We just put out our first breaking tweet I think we've ever put out. That was an interesting tell there. Tua would have been a Charger if Herbert was drafted to the Miami Dolphins. So all that conversation about nobody being interested in Tua was just a bunch of malarkey.
Mm-hmm.
And I will learn from that moving forward. I will never, ever listen to anything anybody says the week before the draft because it's all a lie. Everything's an absolute lie. Tua had to sit through a lot, man. Tua had to sit back in Nashville, training with Trent Dilfer, who we'll talk with here in about 30 minutes, and just see all these things being said about how nobody wants him and everything like that. At what point does somebody have to say to him, like, hey, this is all a lie. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And then Tua's like, yeah, but I feel like Aaron Rodgers and Manziel and them. And he turns out he goes to Miami. They find the quarterback of their future, and Justin Herbert lands at the Chargers, and it wouldn't have mattered. They both would have went 5-6 anyways.
Do you think they do that to potentially like test his mental toughness?
Let's bury this guy.
Yeah.
Let's absolutely see how he handles this thing. I have no idea.
It's not our fault, though. I think when you do what we do, and you have to talk about the smoke screens that come out every single day, they just kind of get put in your head, and then you start believing them.
Well, yeah, we literally, that's just like the Joe Burrow saying no to Cincinnati thing. It was like, I didn't create that rumor. No. But hey, if that's a rumor that's going around and there's no live sports, we are obligated. We are obligated to talk about that. I got some Cincinnati blogs that aren't happy with us, by the way. Why? Because we were pushing that narrative.
We were not.
We were not pushing the narrative, by the way. We were reporting the narrative.
Maybe would it have been a fun thing to see happen? Sure.
Would that have been good for our show? Definitely. Would it have sucked for the Cincinnati Bengals and their fan base? Absolutely. And we have empathy for that. But we got to cover it.
Those blogs also weren't privy to some of the information that was presented to us.
Oh, Nick is saying we got news, we got sources, we got our own sources.
I mean,
People were telling us stuff. I just want to let everybody know, people were telling us stuff. Let's pivot. Nobody's talked to us from this organization. The Patriots, I guess, have shown zero interest in Cam Newton. The FanDuel and betting odds for Cam Newton's next home. We just talked to Tom Telesco. We can rule out Cam Newton being a Los Angeles Charger, I believe. Tyrod Taylor is the starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers. And the only reason why they're in the Tom Brady sweepstakes is because the Tom Brady situation was such an anomaly to have the GOAT on the market after 20 years of success. He said, other than that, we were not in the market for a quarterback unless a veteran quarterback. So everybody assumed, where's Cam Newton going to go next? And the lines and betting odds moved from like plus 400 to minus 190 for the New England Patriots. Everybody thinks Cam Newton is going to the New England Patriots. And the New England Patriots, whoever their powers that be or whatever, let everybody know, we have not and have shown zero interest in Cam Newton. I'm not 100% sure where that's coming from. But now you start looking around. Is it the Jaguars then? The Jaguars, one of their players tweeted that maybe we bring in Cam Newton, Leonard Fournette. Now he's on the trading block. So I would assume it's not going to be the Jaguars. Will the Pittsburgh Steelers let him know, like, hey, we're going to need a backup quarterback. Ben's probably going to get hurt at some point. You will get to play this year. That seems like a smart landing spot. Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers, but can Cam Newton handle knowing he's going to be a backup quarterback? The Denver Broncos seem to have their guy with Drew Lock. He lit it up last year. And by the way, Raps Jeezy on the sideline. I'm a big fan of that. Chicago Bears have 2 quarterbacks that they're paying a lot of money for. Las Vegas Raiders, maybe if the whole John Gruden, Derek Carr thing isn't real, but they paid Mariota $8 million a year to come there. And the Redskins have 45 quarterbacks on the roster, although Ron Rivera's there. So I'm not sure where Cam Newton goes. I have no idea what Cam Newton does. I never thought that the Patriots were a place that he would find home in. But I really, as you look around, as things unfold here, like the Jaguars, for instance, I think that'd be a great place for him to go to.
Yeah.
It'd be a great place for him to go to. Especially we don't know if Gardner Minshew is going to be able to hold up. He's a little bit undersized. Is he going to get hurt? It'll be his first year starting. You get rid of Nick Foles, so you have faith in Minshew mania, which you should. He had a great year. Lit Jacksonville on fire with his jorts and bandanas and everything like that, and his mustache, and I appreciate that. But what if he gets hurt? If he gets hurt, do you have Cam Newton back there? Well, that's not going to happen because the last person to mention that is now getting traded out of town. So that's probably not the case. The Pittsburgh Steelers came out and said, we did not make any type of offer towards Jameis Winston. Now, it wasn't directly from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but after a guy named Nick Citro, who we announced on the show yesterday, said that the Pittsburgh Steelers were the ones that made a much more lucrative offer to Jameis Winston before he ended up signing with the Saints. By the way, he's a Bucs insider, so let's assume he's getting his information potentially from Jameis's team. So Jameis's team could have potentially told this guy that they got an offer from the Pittsburgh Steelers. They chose the Saints instead. But the source has come out and said that the Pittsburgh Steelers did not make an offer to Jameis Winston. So who knows if the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the market for a backup veteran quarterback? Nobody knows. Are they happy with Mason Rudolph or maybe even quack, Duck Rodgers? I'm not 100% sure they are. I don't think Steelers fans are, but nothing is said that they're in the market for a backup quarterback. Where does Cam Newton go? Nobody has a clue.
I have a question for you. Would you, if you're Cam Newton, rather go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are over-unders like 4.5 wins, or sit out the season and see if there's a better opportunity next year?
If you're Cam Newton, do you want to be a backup quarterback? Somebody in the comment section just said Cam Newton's a better quarterback than all quarterbacks in Pittsburgh combined. Go watch Ben Roethlisberger's film. Do not mistake Ben Roethlisberger's
physique,
abnormal quarterback physique, or abnormal quarterback operations off the field, or his beard, or maybe some of the stories told. When Ben Roethlisberger is on the field, Ben Roethlisberger is an elite quarterback. Off the field, I think a lot of people don't classify him as one of the NFL's all-time greats, but on the field, that dude puts up numbers. He drops the ball in the bucket. He knows the offense inside and out. He's an OG on the team basically now that they got rid of everybody. I mean, Roethlisberger is a perennial quarterback. I mean, he is very, very good. I think anybody that said that just doesn't fully understand. But would Cam Newton be a good backup there? I think he would be, by the way. I think that'd be a good place for him. I don't know if Mike Tomlin, by the way, embraces personality. Tomlin is a personality. He's a great coach. I mean, is that something they'd want to bring in? I'm not 100% sure if the distraction would be worth it. But boy, when Ben Roethlisberger inevitably goes down this year, probably 3-4 games, maybe 5 games, which nobody likes, but it happens because Ben Roethlisberger refuses to go down. He extends plays, and he's big, and he doesn't do the avoid bag drill. He actually runs into them in practice. The guy is just one of those old school football players coming off of Tommy John. Is Cam Newton a guy that you would want in there as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan?
It's tough because
he's good. You have Cam Newton last year, you go to the playoffs.
If they handled the circus that came with Mike Vick, I think they could do it with Cam Newton.
Mike was at his very end of his career, though, so it's not like he was going to cause problems if he wasn't. Everyone knew he wasn't playing unless Ben was hurt. Cam, I think, is good enough to where he's not better than Ben, but if Ben was struggling with his elbow maybe coming out of the
conversation
gate,
would start to linger. Yeah, but everybody, I think that was a very disrespectful thing to say to Ben.
I mean, it was the dumbest thing I've heard in a long time.
Off the field, Roethlisberger has built himself up to be things like that to be said, by the way. I just want to let you know. That is not that person's fault for thinking that. That is not that person's fault. But on the field, Roethlisberger is an absolute savage.
He threw for 5,000 yards 2 years ago. Cam has thrown over 4,000 one time, so maybe it's just.
Well, he led the NFL in pass yards last year.
You want an MVP too?
Well, I'm talking about.
Jamie.
Well, that's not even Cam Newton. Jesus. Jamie.
And plus Steelers only have like 5 million.
Okay, let's talk about Jameis. That's why my brain went there. Jeff Ireland, New Orleans Saints vice president of personnel, was in an interview, I forget where and with who, but he said that Jameis will learn more in this 1 year of football than he has in his entire lifetime. And I would assume that's because he gets a chance to learn from Drew Brees and how Drew Brees watches film, which is, by the way, That is just, you can't put a price tag on being able to watch Drew Brees break down film and be a part of that whole thing. Then he says you add in Pete Carmichael, obviously, Joe Lombardi and Sean Payton on the offensive side with those creative minds. Jameis will learn more football in a year than he has in his lifetime. This is a wildly massive shot at every coach that Jameis Winston's ever had. Let me rattle off some of the coaches that Jameis Winston has had, and you just tell me if you think they know football at all or not. Jimbo Fisher. He got Jameis to be, a first-round draft pick, and they won a bunch of games and a Heisman winner, didn't he?
National championship. Too.
Okay, so Jimbo Fisher, obviously, Jameis didn't learn anything there. Last year, he had Bruce Arians as a coach. Bruce Arians has been coaching literally since with Bear Bryant. Okay, has been there, done that with everything. He was everybody. He's known as the quarterback whisperer. Doesn't matter. He will learn more. Clyde Christensen, the quarterback coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, was Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck's quarterback coach. Like, very highly regarded, doesn't talk much. So I guess the fact that he gets a chance to watch film with Drew Brees is worth him learning a lifetime's worth of football in 1 year over all those people. Jeff Ireland, obviously the same guy that asked Des Bryant if his mom was a prostitute during the combine and all that stuff. Jeff Ireland, obviously a very talented mind, or the Saints wouldn't have him. I think the Saints are a good operation when it comes to the football standpoint. Everything else, there's a lot of question marks regarding the organization. But when it comes to the football, that team has been good for a long time. So if they brought in Jeff Ireland, there had to be a reason. But I don't know if Jeff Ireland is the guy to be making shots or taking shots at every single coach that Jameis has ever had in his entire granted, he threw 30 interceptions, but he threw 5,100 yards last year. Maybe Jeff Ireland came out to do this so people could compliment how good Jameis was before he got to the Saints. So he looked like an idiot, which is a smart move, because that is just a wild shot at every coach. Jameis.
Do you think this is what happened to Jeff Ireland? Like, he went there and then he suddenly learned more than he ever knew about football from 1 year with the Saints?
Man, when I was at Miami and I traded Vontae and he had to call his grandma, man, I didn't learn anything. I got here and I learned what football actually was. So I assume that's just what it's like everywhere else. Shut up, Jeff Ireland.
Isn't that putting a pretty big target on Jameis's back too? Because if he comes out and doesn't perform next year, then it's that's putting a pretty big expectations on his shoulders.
Big conversation will be, is Jameis Winston the quarterback of the future for the New Orleans Saints, or is Taysom Hill? When Drew Brees eventually decides to just go to NBC Sunday Night Football, which is a hilarious option to have in your back pocket. Hilarious option to have in your back pocket. I'll just go be the next commentator for Sunday Night Football, the biggest game in town. No big deal. Whenever I'm done doing this and collecting another $50 million to play quarterback for the Saints on a very good team, playing very good football. Whenever he's done, Sean Payton has come out and said that Taysom Hill is Steve Young. He's the next Steve Young. Then last year, 5 games Drew Brees was out. Put Teddy Bridgewater in instead of his Steve Young. So everybody's like, wait a minute, Sean. Somebody's lying about something somewhere here. Then he pays Taysom Hill another $16.5 million guaranteed over the next 2 years. Brings in Jameis to be the backup quarterback. And he has maintained the fact that Taysom Hill is the quarterback of the future. Drew Brees might play for another few years. Taysom Hill might be older than Drew Brees whenever he finally gets a shot to do this. So everybody's assuming that Jameis Winston from this year or the next couple years in New Orleans is going to be the next guy. And by the way, what have we said? If Jameis could go somewhere, be a backup, learn the game, drop down his 30 interceptions, he'll be a stud. What a smart play by the Saints if that's how they see this whole thing working out.
They could say all they want about Taysom Hill, but I think if, say, Drew does get hurt again this year and there's 5 games to be played at quarterback, I think Jameis is going to be the starter.
Yeah, and is that because Taysom Hill is too valuable at every other position? Remember what Brandon Flowers said yesterday? I got an ice cube in my mouth. You know, with this little sipper thing that Starbucks has, whenever the ice gets smaller than the sipper thing, it's still ice. It's just a thin shot, a skinny thin shot that just hits you right in the throat.
Lid, though.
It is a great lid. This is a genius move. This was a genius move. A little sippy cup for adults.
Yeah. Saves the turtles.
Turtles.
Smart.
Yep.
Yeah, saves the turtles, which I'm here for because those paper straws ain't it.
No.
I think it's about time for us to do away with those.
I agree.
I was going to say so. Oh, Taysom Hill. Brandon Flowers told us yesterday that when Taysom Hill comes on the field, you have no idea what position he's going to play, so you don't know the package. So I think that weapon, and that package is still something I assume Sean Payton would want because it's a rather large part of their offense. That's why he put Teddy Bridgewater in. But I just don't know if in 2 years Taysom Hill is going to be a quarterback. Is he? Maybe he'll be sick of getting hit and playing every other position. He's like, I'll drop back and play quarterback, and I'll know this offense better than anybody because I played every single position on this offense. That's not a bad play either. Sean Payton's making a smart move.
Yeah.
Sean Payton, great shoes too, draft day. He had some StockX shoes, I believe, and then he had a nice pair of sweats on and a hoodie. Sean Payton gets it, that guy. He lives life too, I think.
The fact that the Saints don't put Taysom Hill at quarterback, doesn't that hurt his chances with any other team to play quarterback there?
Not as long as Sean Payton continues to say, this guy's like Steve Young. By the way, that is Sean Payton, I think. We talked about this yesterday. We tried to figure it out why Taysom Hill is not quarterback in the future. We tried to figure it out. And I think what we landed on is they put a first-round tag on Taysom Hill. Tender, right?
Yeah.
First-round tender, which means if somebody else wants him, they got to give up a first-round pick for him and pay him a certain amount of money. Then he came out and said, this guy's Steve Young, this guy's this. Was Sean Payton potentially trying to get some team to give him another one for Taysom Hill? If he upsells Taysom Hill and somebody wants to come get him and get more thing, that's good leverage. I don't think he ever wants to get rid of Taysom Hill. I think he loves Taysom Hill. But Jerry Krause said, my job as general manager to listen to people if they want to give me an opportunity.
I assume that he isn't like no one other than Drew Brees has taken very many reps in practice. But do you think is he like a scout team quarterback or is he doing the stuff that he normally would in the offense?
I would assume that Jameis or Teddy are running the scout teams, right? Because if Drew is taking every single snap, which I think is we've learned that he is doing that. I don't know if it's accurate or not. I forget who told us that. Somebody told us that Drew takes every single snap down there. And then also, how do you get any Teddy? I would assume Teddy was running the scout team. I would assume Teddy was running the scout team.
Taysom has reps with the first team offense, too.
Unless they're playing Lamar Jackson.
Then Taysom.
Then Taysom will run the scout team.
It was always, by the way, maybe a corner.
Yeah.
It was always funny to see who they chose to replicate who. Granted, I represented Drew Brees 1 week.
Of course.
High praise.
No big deal.
Makes sense.
I threw for 1,000 yards that week. He threw for 5,000 in the game. They had that seam ball, man. It was wide open. But it is funny when they decide who's going to replicate who. It's a pretty big deal to that scout team, the practice squad, whenever you get the jersey and it's like, oh, I am OBJ this week. Like the wide receivers are like, okay, this is going to be fun. Griff Whalen, when he was either Welker or Julian Edelman, I forget, probably Julian Edelman, he just had a field day. And I was watching, I was like, why don't we put that in our offense, whatever Griff's doing to our defense where he is, I think he scored maybe 20 touchdowns. It was like a 5-yard kind of feel-it route where you just read the linebacker and you either cut out or cut in. And Griff and the quarterback, I forget who it was at the time running the scout team, they had a great, I think it was Hasselbeck. I think Hasselbeck was running it. Griff was just picking up. It was just the easiest thing ever. And by the way, that's what Edelman does to every team.
Yep.
I'm like, why don't Griff and Andrew, I think, were roommates in high school. I assume they'll be on the same page on a regular basis. Why don't we? And then Griff snapped the ball, and he's the worst center in history, and then that's all she wrote. And then he got cut 45 times from the Colts and brought back, cut, brought back, cut, brought back, cut, brought back. And then that New England Patriots week, it was just like, damn. I think we found what we should probably do with Griff. He was so good that week. And then we never used it again. Interesting. We got to get to a break. YouTube questions during the break. Get them in there in the comment section. YouTube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. Is this that Twine guy? Does he do country music too?
Nah, we got more from him. We'll play it coming back.
What's his name? Twine? Like the guitar string Twine?
Ripping Twine.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's the time. To rip some twine. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. I've been getting this question a lot, by the way. I just got it in the YouTube comment section from Sophie Zanders, and I got it on Twitter. They're talking about international players in the NFL. Did you see this? I guess there's a lot of international players.
Yeah, I saw it too, and I didn't know what it meant.
There's like an international draft. And the way somebody sent it to me on Twitter was like, do you think the NFL will ever catch up to the NBA in international players? And I think it's difficult. Let me tell you why. In basketball, it's a lot of human, ball, and hoop. Okay, so you could see people get better at basketball all by themselves in their yard, or if they're in Greece, for instance, there's a gym somewhere. If you're in France somewhere, there's a hoop somewhere. You can work on your game without necessarily needing other high-level talent around you. I think in football, it is something where you need other people to get better at. It is not something where, yes, I think you can throw if we're just going to have a bunch of international quarterbacks, yes, you can throw the ball into a bucket and continue to work on that and run sprints. And if you're a wide receiver, I guess you can have somebody throw to you if they know how to throw a football. Punting, I think you can do. I think international punters is becoming something because you don't need a bunch of people around you that can make you better. It's just you and the ball. But when it comes to like running back, linebacker, offensive line, tight end, things of that nature, you need other humans. And I think if the sport isn't big in your country, it's going to be difficult. There are some outliers, obviously. There are some anomalies. I mean, we had a guy from South Africa on our team. There's rugby players that come from New Zealand and stuff like that because it's similar. Not a lot of them have a lot of success because, other than kicking and punting, because leverage is a lot different in football than rugby and knowing things. It's just one of those things. As the sport grows internationally, I think we'll obviously see more people come in, but it's going to take a while because you have to compete against real competition to up your game and make it. So that's the difference between the NBA and the NFL. I hope the game grows internationally because it's good for everybody. It's good for the league. It's good for this show. It's good for everybody in the world to get introduced to our sport as the best sport in the world. But I think it's going to take a little bit until everybody has the competition level.
Yeah, I mean, there's a basketball league in pretty much every single country in the world.
And by the way, all you need, and that's been a good initiative by the NBA, by the way, is to get their scouts into random places and finding people and putting that together. Like some scouts' jobs are putting together leagues for people to play in another. I mean, it's just like, that's a smart way to do things. Then they have American academies that they bring people to. That's a way to do it. But in the NFL, I think it's a bit difficult because of the competition there. Now, granted, they can come into IMG and stuff where people have been coming to.
Yeah.
They have a team and stuff like that. But I'm intrigued to see it grow. I think it's going to take a little bit, though, because your competition has to be there to make you better, because iron sharpens iron. Iron City, by the way. Dustin Colquitt's probably going to pound a few of those whenever he's playing for Pittsburgh.
I hope so. Save the city.
Save the city. What?
Icy like mango. It's delicious, especially in the summertime.
I don't know if you're being serious or not.
100%.
So if you put mango in piss, it tastes good?
How dare you?
You know it.
How dare you?
Icy Light takes like
Yeah, but you haven't had the mango. That's why.
Well, I'm just saying you can't just put a mango on a butthole and have it taste good.
I got news.
It tastes better.
Go ahead, Diggs.
Nothing.
Tony.
A bad butthole, Diggs. I'm not talking about you. Whatever you got going on. I'm talking about junior year squared back here.
Whoa,
I see like
I know you don't drink anymore. I will somehow make sure a case of Icy Light mango gets here this summertime. You can have one. Your mind will be blown.
Icy Lights are good for one thing, and that's straight to the head. I don't want to taste this. Let's just move from A to B here. I want to get to Toasty Town as quick as possible. We're about to be back live on radio. Is this twine?
This is twine. This is called Them Good Vitamins.
Ooh, them good.
God.
Good?
This guy's good.
Yeah.
I wonder if I've ever met this person before, and I just walked by him and I was like, that guy makes bangers right there. What do you think this guy looks like? Connor?
No.
Probably.
You think he's just some little white dude that sits at home and just is out there? I watched that Avicii doc. Watching him put together songs was awesome. I still think he's alive.
Yeah,
He is. Yeah,
Really?
for sure. 100%.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm all in on Avicii beer.
How'd he kill himself? With a glass bottle? There has to be different ways to do it.
That's a
I mean,
bad
if
way.
I were to go out, that is not the way I would choose to.
On his own island, too, way out there where you can probably control the news if you really wanted to.
Exactly.
I'm hoping he is, just strictly because he was starting to put out banger after banger after banger after banger. We lost him too soon.
I mean, he definitely has enough money to stay ahead of the media and the authorities for the rest of his life.
Yeah. And he can just drop bangers whenever he wants.
What are you saying, Ty?
I think I'm coming around on your theory.
No! Yeah, you're coming around. I don't think he.
There's no
I don't
chance.
know. I just don't know. And then you read that letter whenever the album Tim was put out.
Yeah.
And it was like his family talking about the songs that they found and stuff like that. And they're like, we found thousands of songs and stuff like that.
Well, and listen to the songs that they dropped, too.
And every song revolves around death and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very... I love Avicii, and I hope I get to meet him one day because I don't think he's dead.
Oh, you will. You will.
You think he's coming on our show?
Oh, yeah. It's probably the first show he comes on to announce he's back.
Next guest, Tim, joining us. Blonde-haired guy who makes great music.
Where you start playing levels.
Oh, my God.
Hey, did you watch that doc?
No.
You did not?
Is it on Netflix?
Bro, he was performing 2 shows a night for like 6 nights a week for like 4 years.
That's
and
too much.
You
600
don't say. You were literally watching this guy get burnt. You're literally watching it. He's like, this guy is about done with it. And then there was this promoter agent guy who was this fiery guy.
Beast.
He negotiates a deal with somebody as soon as he closed the phone, just like Diddy. Diddy screams an entire thing about, I'm a beast or whatever when he negotiated that deal. Avicii's guy's like basically like straight to the phone, like I just screwed that guy over this entire thing. And then Avicii's on a private. I mean, it was insane. That's how you build a DJ, by the way. And the fact that they filmed everything.
Yeah, every single
it's
thing.
really good.
They have him creating levels.
It's awesome. And then he's got other people in there, like the guy who, what's that band? Chris something.
The Lumineers?
Chris, no.
No, like he had Linkin Park guitars.
Stapleton?
No, not Chris Stapleton.
Chris Gaines?
No. Garth Brooks and, by the way, if Garth Brooks and Avicii sit down, I think that would be Chris something. He's blonde-haired guy.
From Metallica?
No, he's tie-dye. There's like big flags waving whenever they do
Chris Martin?
Chris Martin. There it is. What band?
Coldplay. Yeah,
Coldplay. There. Jeez Louise. Going to get to Coldplay. Chris Martin was in there. And basically, I think a lot of people revere Chris Martin as a super intelligent music guy, right? He's made a lot of bangers and stuff like that. He's on everything. He was in there just talking about how big of a genius Avicii was the entire time, right to Avicii's face. Because Avicii's just staring at this computer, and he's just like putting the entire orchestra together. And then Chris Martin goes in there, it just becomes a banger, dude. Let's go to Grant in Dallas. Grant, what's going on, bub?
Hey, Pat, how we doing today?
Not too shabby. How are you, pal? A lot of people
I'm
saying
doing
Chris
all right.
Hansen. He
I'm
wasn't-
doing really good ever since the 49ers picked up Mr. Trent Williams.
That's a massive pickup. You lose Joe Staley, you pick up Trent Williams. That has to feel pretty good if you're part of the Niners faithful.
It feels phenomenal. Now I have, I have more confirmation that it doesn't matter who we put in the backfield, we're going to put up 800 yards rushing.
You did against the Packers. You know what the Packers did about it? Nothing. Extended their defensive coordinator's contract.
They got an H-back in the draft in the 3rd round, too, so.
Who, the Niners?
No.
The Packers.
Oh, my God. Everything, all conversations in the NFL right now just lead right back to Green Bay, Wisconsin. How does that happen? I wish I would have asked Tom Telesco. I wish. We'll have Trent Dilfer on here after this next radio break. To be honest, I've never heard Trent Dilfer really speak. I know that he said bad things about the punters and the kickers, disparaging things about the brand. So as soon as you're a noted terrorist for the brand, a guy trying to take down the brand, in my eyes, block you just like it's Facebook or something along those lines. See you later. A lot of people respect Trent Dilfer. Obviously, Matt Hasselbeck, big fan of Trent Dilfer. Tua used him to train him this year. A lot of people have respect for Trent Dilfer. I can appreciate that. I just know nothing about him because he was a terrorist for the brand back in the day.
Yeah, he had made some disparaging comments.
So, hey, guess what? Cut it. Gone. 28 minutes after the hour. Let's get to a break so that we can talk to Trent on the other side. I'm pretty pumped up about this. The Tua training thing. How many people did he have to call? Did the Chargers call? Because, and if he tells us no, by the way, Tom Telesco, general manager of the Chargers, already told us yes, we can't trust him, we hang up on him.
Yeah.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Hey, I want you to be quick with the trigger back there.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a terrorist for the brand. There's no other way to treat him. Got to do it. Mark Schlereth once was too, by the way, but he's come full circle. He's on my side.
Well, he's a lineman. I mean,
well, quarterback too. I mean, you got to remember, quarterback too. I mean, same type of mindset. Like they hate the punter normally. That's why when Peyton invited me to golf and casino, it was a very wild scene because the only time I'm going on the field is when he doesn't have success. So it's not a happy time when he sees me jogging by him. Hey, Peyton, hey, good job. It's not really like.
I mean, he may have seen you more as one of his backup quarterbacks. Though.
Well, Peyton?
Yeah.
I think he did.
You know,
I think he did.
Peyton
He knew.
scored so much too that he also saw you running on after touchdowns for the extra point.
By the way, any pictures you see of me and Peyton together, it's always jogging on after an extra point. Whenever it was for a punt, I would kind of veer like 15, 20 yards away. Smart. Like, I don't want to be associated with this bad thing. Let me go down here. Let me come on. I lined up one time 18 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Didn't even notice. That was when I was young.
How was the snap?
Terrible. And we got the punt off, by the way.
There you go.
Normally only 14 yards. I was 4 yards back. I was at the wrong line or whatever. Get the punt off. And he goes, how's that snap? And normally I blacked out, right? I normally didn't know. So the snapper, my first couple years, was not happy because he was always asking me where the snap. I'm like, I couldn't even tell you, man. I'm so sorry. So Vinatieri had to start watching where the snap was to tell the snapper. That one I remember because I think it hit the ground or whatever. I was like, it was low, man. And he was like, you looked far. And Vinatieri was like, you were like 20 yards behind. Yikes! Yikes! And that's why Trent Dilfer hated punters, because he made decisions like that. But that theory is of the past. We talked to Trent Dilfer on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Clay, there's a lot of talk of some vets that want to find a way to get down to Tampa in so-called ring chase with a little guy named Tom Brady, fresh off the heels of his Howard Stern interview that he was a lot more open than normal. Have you given much thought to what it may look like to strap it up for the Bucs and try to chase another ring?
Hey, I'm not going to lie to you. That crossed my mind. You know, I thought. I think football is a little more difficult to ring chase. I mean, I know where you're going with this, but ultimately, his track record says that the Bucs, should be the team to beat in the NFC. So we'll see if there's any interest. I know they've got a stud out there rushing off the edge, but like we talked about earlier, we're just sitting tight, and hopefully something comes about with a quarterback in the likes, or in the same ballpark as Tom, and we can make another run at this.
How does that process go, Clay? Your agent will say, hey, here's some teams that are interested, because you're at a whole different stage now. You said it, you're later in your career. You're going to find a good situation, a winning situation. And I think you were going to say while you were answering, and you didn't say it, you held back, which is smart, obviously, because you're still a shitty contract is what you said. But you were going to say, how does that process look? Your agent will be like, hey, here are some teams we've got interest from. Here are the pros. Here are the cons of each team. Is that how that whole thing will go? Is it more of like a field base?
I think first and foremost, the first thing you realize in free agency is all 31 teams are intrigued. They're intrigued with you, but that means nothing. The reality is what team is willing to make an offer. And then once you have an offer on the table, or you agree to, a price you're comfortable with before signing on the dotted line, at least for me, I speak with my father, who's, obviously played in the league and had, some success doing so. I speak with my wife, people close to me, just to, see if it's the right move, because, I would say deep down I know what the right decision is, but I want to get the input of the people closest to me, who are going to be a part of this. I mean, because, my wife picks up the slack during the season with the 3 kids, and, she's up in the middle of the night with the kids, taking them to school, and if we were to go to a new city or state, with no friends or anything along the lines, it makes it more difficult for her. And you got to look at the quality of life and living. And AJ, I know you went to Cincinnati, after Green Bay, and I have to think, a large part of that was to be closer to home, growing up in Columbus, right? Dublin, somewhere around there.
Yeah. They stink. Don't go to Cincinnati, Clay.
Well, I was speaking on behalf of AJ. But,
Okay.
We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. You know it's time to go. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. The crowd is saying whoa. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. You know it's time to go. I just took a shot of self-esteem. I chugged a bottle of confidence. Shotgun me some self-assurance. Now I'ma conquer all of it. Popping bottles of positive. Just so you know I'm rocking it. About to do a cake stand of courage. Cause I'm getting drunk about cockiness. I got a lot of it. I had to earn it, kid. Got the fans hungry, I'm serving it. While y'all had the blunts to be burning it. I was writing rhymes and I learned to spit. Fresh to death, your best is bet. Is to never look at me and expect the mess. I got rebels of sweat on my chest and head. So every time I spit, you can catch the best. Yes. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. The crowd is saying whoa. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. You know it's time to go. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. The crowd is saying whoa. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. We keep them hands up. You know it's time to go. Let's break it down like a bag of weed. You ain't heard of me, well that's a tragedy. Y'all say why you asking me? Maybe cause my look ain't flattering. But the rap's clean, so what's happening is I ain't talking about no bling. Only ice I have is in my whiskey. But that really ain't even half of me. Gotta stack some cheese, I gotta laugh at these. Amateurs act up.
Hello, we're back. Is he on? Trent, let's handle this right now, Trent. Trent?
You got me?
Yeah, Elite 11 coach, Tua's trainer, Super Bowl champion, a man who has said terrible things about punters and kickers, Trent Dilfer. Trent, why did you have, listen, Trent, I didn't want to hate you earlier. I didn't want to. You were saying bad things about kickers and punters back in the day. Do you remember that? You were on like a little bit of a tear there against kickers and punters.
I'm only a truth teller, Pat.
Trent, I don't need to hear that.
My best friends are kickers and punters. I just hired Phil Dawson.
Oh, well, hey, by the way, that makes me feel like you're a very for the brand guy. I love Phil.
I built your guys' brand before guys like you had a voice.
Trent, I respect
You're coming on the coattails, baby. I built your guys' brand.
Trent.
Because I said you guys were online shoppers. And
Trent, I don't need that. It wasn't just you, by the way. There was a bunch of meatheads up there that I just, I had to mute the television whenever you guys were talking because this is how I feed my family. But speaking of feeding family, after being a quarterback in the NFL for 14 seasons, now you're becoming a quarterback guru of sorts. The videos coming out of Tua, the quarterback videos that have been coming out about Tua in that entire training down there in Nashville. What was that experience like? You had a tornado come through. There was a lot of questions about Tua's health. How did you kind of maneuver through all of that to put him in the best position to ultimately end up at 5? And if not at 5, you would end up at 6.
Yeah, it was, well, first of all, I did very little. I put together a pretty cool team that really guided Tua through a really tough transition coming off really a healing transition, right? He was still in a healing process coming from Alabama and having to transition. And you know this, there's a tough transition from kind of when you're in rehab, but you want to get into strength and conditioning, mobility, stability, and improvement.
Yeah.
So put together a great team there. Nutrition, we used food as a healer. His body just got rocked out through the process. I think it really helped the healing process.
He's shredded right now? Tua's shredded?
He got shredded, yeah. I think he came to us around 230. And I want to say at Combine is around 213. And still, he's got that big lower trunk. He's studded out. So he looked great there. And then just walking him through the tornado. I mean, he was right next to the tornado that night when it hit. That was traumatizing. There was some frustration of when do I get to throw again? And we finally started getting to do some dynamic work on the field, making sure that we sequenced it right. So it was a challenging time, and then all the COVID dynamics too. So there was a lot of pivoting that went on. And the thing I say about Tua that he did better than anything else is he never flinched. And you've been around guys like that, right? The greatest don't flinch. And regardless of circumstance, he just came to work every day. We talked about Rocky IV and going to the Ukraine, and he just showed up in the barn every day and lifted rocks. I mean, nobody knew about it. Nobody knew what he was doing. There was no glory to it. So I think the April 9th workout, call it a pro day,
was unique because a lot of skeptics didn't think he's going to be able to do anything, and he's able to show quite a bit.
How many people were asking for that virtual workout? Were a lot of teams asking for that? Because I saw a lot of guys posting videos of themselves working out, doing backflips and things of that nature. I didn't know if the NFL was actually looking for that or not. What was the thought behind releasing some tease videos and then ultimately the virtual workout? Was that something that the NFL was like, yes, please do this so we can see them?
I never asked. I let the agent handle all that. I stayed very locked and loaded in on what did Tua want to do and what was his progression like. And we leaked the videos early on, the private workout videos before the April 9th, just because I was shocked how far he had come. And my suggestion was, hey, people are still having this narrative that you're not doing anything, that you're limping around. Let's show them you doing some dynamic stuff that they would expect, the other quarterbacks in the draft to be doing at the same time, and he was able to do it. So when it came to the teams wanting a pro day, I had heard from the agent where they wanted to see dynamic movement, they wanted to see pocket explosion, and they wanted to somehow create an environment. They knew we were challenged by not having field space where they could see the horsepower in his arm. A lot of false narratives came out pre-draft around deep ball this, deep ball that. So we wanted to create an environment where we can show this kid has as much horsepower as you could ever want.
The week before the draft, there was 8 months ago, there was a narrative that a team in the NFL was tanking to get this man. Then the hip injury happens, obviously. And then a week before the draft, all these stories started coming out about how it would be irresponsible to draft Tua and how Tua's going to fall out of the top 10. Did the camp know that those conversations were happening, and what was being said amongst the people around Tua?
That's a great question. And you can't help but to not know it. I try to isolate myself, the kids that I coach here at Lipscomb Academy from those narratives, but you can't anymore. Everybody's reading it before they go to bed or sitting on the toilet. You hear everything. So, I think we were aware of that. And that's why the initial meeting, go back to January, when I sat, I think there was 11 of us in the room, and sat down and said, okay, what is the theme? I'm a big theme guy. I said, the theme of this is Rocky IV. The theme of this is going to Ukraine. The theme of this is isolating ourselves as much as we possibly can from the noise. And the theme is positivity. We're going to stay positive because there's going to be some dark days to it. There's going to be some days that you're regretting coming to Nashville and signing up for this. Let's make sure we're staying positive. Let's make sure we're, quieting the noise. And we stack enough of those on top of each other, and we'll get draft day and things will be just fine. And to his credit again, Pat, this kid's spectacular. He dove in with both feet. He never flinched. He never complained. He went through some really tough stuff, and it was really a credit to his resilience to how the whole thing panned out.
Take me through the process of Tua picking you to be his quarterback coach there, because everybody knows Jordan Palmer was with Joe Burrow and Jordan Love. Is there like a pitch process there where you have to lay out like, hey, the theme will be this, this is this? Is that how it goes, or how does it?
No, I've never asked to do this. Thank you for asking that question. I made a deal years ago with these guys, Jordan, Quincy Avery, Justin Hoover, QB Country guys. This is their business. This is their core business, and they do a great job with it. Jordan and I were on the phone 2 days ago. One of my best friends. He's like a little brother to me. And there's nobody better than these guys. So for years, when I get these calls from Elite 11 quarterbacks, their parents, agents, I have probably been the biggest advocate to go work with these guys because I really believe what they're doing. And I had told them years ago, I would not do this. I wouldn't jump into this landscape to steal from their core business.
Got it.
Because naturally the parent, because I'm the head coach of Elite 11, comes to me first. So Tua was a very unique situation. The first call I made was to Jordan Palmer saying, listen, they reached out to me. No agent was involved. Nothing was involved. I have a unique relationship with the family, first of all, dating back to when he was a junior in high school. I earned Tua's trust specifically because I coached him hard. I wasn't one of those guys that blew smoke up his butt back in the day. I really helped him transition to get ready to play early at Alabama. Lane Kiffin had given me some things that he wanted him to work on, and I made sure that Tua fixed those things. So I'd earned his trust on how I coached him. And I think also Tua was looking for something different. if Tua was healthy, I would not have done this. If Tua had none of the stuff that had happened to him his last year in college, I would have said, hey, you're better going into Jordan. You're better going to Quincy. You're better going to quarterback country. But I felt like I could, where my giftedness is putting teams together. It's building ecosystems. So I figured this was going to be way more than quarterback development. This was going to be holistic development, healing, a bigger process. And I have the resources here too. I have really good resources to be able to provide all those things where some of these guys can't. So I said, yes, I would dive into it because of the unique circumstance of it being Tua, the relationship with his family, and the situation I'm here in Nashville with.
While you were training him, how many teams were reaching out to you directly asking you how he looks daily? Because I'd assume with the quarantine, you can do a Zoom call and stuff like that, but when you can't see somebody in person, that's a much tougher thing whenever you're trying to judge somebody.
Not as much as you would think, Pat. I don't know if they just don't like me, if they don't trust me. I don't know.
You don't deserve
You
that.
would think it would be, 6-7 GMs, coaches a day, asking for videos. Now, it was still a lot. There were still multiple teams to reach out, front offices, head coaches, quarterback guys, OCs. But it was really surface level stuff. I think they were trusting their doctors, number one. I'm not a doctor, so you're not going to ask me about his hip. That'd be stupid, right? I'm just going to turn you to the guy that's the expert in that area. I didn't handle his rehab. I didn't handle his strength and conditioning. That was Luke Richardson, who was with the Houston Texans, who was with the Denver Broncos when they won a Super Bowl. Probably the most reputable guy in the NFL. So they're calling him on that stuff.
Makes sense.
So my role really was, what kind of kid is he? Ken Wisnut and I spent a lot of time with him on the board. So his retention, his football IQ, his football acumen, which is off the charts. And then once we started the dynamic work, once March 9th came and we were doing dynamic stuff, then there was a lot more interest. How's he moving? What's his capacity like? How's his endurance? Is there a limp? How's his power? And that's where the video, I said, again, don't take my word for it. I am biased. I love this kid like my own son. And I said that on the 35 plus interviews I did pre-draft. There's definitely a bias here. But here's some video. You tell me. I mean, you see guys all the time. Do you tell me like this guy's been hurt? Does this guy look like he can play a game tomorrow? Does this guy look like he can't threaten every part of the field with his arm? To me, it does. I think he's the finest prospect I've ever been around. But I'm not the one drafting him.
He's going into a great spot behind Ryan Fitzpatrick, getting a chance to learn. I think having a veteran quarterback in front of you whenever you're young is a big deal. Big deal. With that being said, Elite 11's your thing. You work with quarterbacks. You know a lot of quarterbacks. I'm not going to ask you about Tua here or a younger quarterback. I'm going to ask you about an older quarterback. If you're Aaron Rodgers, okay, and what happens, how are you reacting to that whole situation?
Well, I think you react to it two different ways. There's an internal reaction, which is pissed, which is confused, which I think you would definitely have some distrust. I think that would be part of it. As a pro, I mean, you went through contract negotiations, right?
The worst.
You went through the end of career stuff. I mean, you're bombing the ball. It's hanging in the air forever. You're the best punter in the NFL, and they're trying to get you out of the building at some point, I'm sure.
That's right.
So you've dealt with that. But then I think Aaron is too wise. He's too crafty. He's too aware of the political dynamics to ever let that become a public thing. So I think then there's a way you react to it publicly, and I think he's done a great job with it. So there's no doubt. People can say whatever they want. Internally, he's pissed off.
Well,
you can't help to be.
He should be. They're NFC Championship last year. There's some holes on that team. Let's go ahead and use that, not for somebody 4 years down the road. Diggs got you.
Yeah, I had a question. I mean, there's been a lot of great stuff in here, but the one thing that raised a flag for me, there's a lot of us in here trying to lose weight. You said healing food?
What the hell is that?
What kind of food do we need to be eating?
You're more of a husky-looking man.
I am. Yeah.
By the way, I was 261 16 days ago, as fattest I've ever been. Now down 13. I'm still husky.
Oh, you look good. Congrats.
No, for Tua, it was taking the anti-inflammatory foods out. We worked with a great nutritionist. She's a 3-time world record holder in swimming, nutrition guru. And it wasn't like you can't. It's like, here's the things you should emphasize in your nutrition because they actually have powers to heal. They'll take away some of the their anti-inflammatories, yada, yada, yada. So I need to eat more of those now too. So I'm a husky as well.
We're all active husky at this point. What was is it one of those berries? I've heard about this berry from Asia that's supposed to be, it's supposed to be the super.
You've been up too late at night watching it. You got too much time on your hands. Why don't you come coach special teams with Phil? Here international, you'll have less time on your hands.
Hey, I love Phil, man. I absolutely love Phil Dawson.
He's the best.
He was kicking off too, like 17 years into that thing. I mean, I don't know how the hell he was doing it.
How about with his hip? You know, he has his last 2 years. I think he only missed 4 kicks his last year, and he truly has a hip that comes out constantly. It's a degenerative hip. I whoop his butt in golf all the time, so he's always whining about his hip. he was bombing 54-yarders and kicking off with a degenerate hip. This is what I appreciate about, and again, Pat, the kicking thing was always a stick, but there's football players that kick, and then there's kickers.
That makes sense.
You're a football player that kicked. Phil's a football. He played right guard in Texas 6A or his 5A football back when he played 100 years ago. He was a right guard in a wing T team that was chopping down, kids going to Oklahoma on the defensive line. So he's a football player. He approaches the game that way. He's studying our offense right now. He wants to be a head coach one day. So it's I don't know how I got onto this, but he's a great man and a great coach.
Hey, listening to you compliment kickers and punters is a good thing to hear because 1 time, 2 times I heard you not do it. Every time you come on, I'd mute you. I shouldn't have. You're very good. This was an incredible conversation. I appreciate the hell out of you, Trent.
I appreciate that. I will say this. Your Thursday nights, what you guys have done in those games, it's gotten to the point now where I have if you see my office, I got 2 TVs in here, and I'm usually game planning for our high school football game. But your guys' sound is on and the NFL is off. And I don't know if Matthew's told you how many times I've texted him during your guys' broadcast, but you guys are doing a great job. You've really found the secret sauce of making sometimes an uninteresting game very interesting.
Matt's a good dude. He's said nothing but high praises about you. I didn't believe it until now. I appreciate you so much, man.
Yeah, Pat, I'm not a very good guy. I don't have just because this is a rate. No, I'm just kidding. I've had nothing but love for you.
That's
Robbie
so funny.
Gold. Actually, Robbie Gold would get more upset. I play a lot of golf with Robbie. I've known him for a long time. And when I used to do the online shopaholic joke on NFL primetime that you'd usually mute, I would get these visceral texts from Robbie about how it's disrespecting the brand. And I would say, Robbie, nobody knows your name until I do NFL Live. So you should be thanking me. Any publicity is good publicity.
Oh, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, hilarious. Trent Dilfer. Man, I muted him for so long. I had no idea. He's good.
There you go.
I like him now.
I like him, too.
Yeah.
By the way, the fact that he's doing all that just to rub it in his friends' faces, I think I respect that even more. Like, I wanted to hate him, but I respect that even more if he's like, just take, like, that'd be, I mean, there's been a couple times that we've got shots in at Zito on ESPN. Like, that's just an inside joke. But he did say some disparaging things. I had to mute him.
Punched down at me, too. So.
Called you fat, too, and you've been
Husky.
dieting.
It was husky.
Oh, yeah. He said you were fat. And he, me too, though, by the way. You've been dieting. I think you're down
I was
like
gonna
maybe
say,
20 pounds.
You look as good as you have in months.
Oh, Diggs, you wanted us. Oh, you wanted us. I get it. Okay, we're back at 1 o'clock with McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk. The comment section turned on Trent, by the way, there. They were very against him early, and then I think I saw them kind of change.
As was I.
Great conversation. Me too. Hey, it happened to all of us. It happened to all of us.
Unanimous.
Big thanks to Tom Telesco. Big thanks to Trent Dilfer. Congrats to Tua getting shredded. And it's nice to know that Herbert and Tua were going 5 or 6 regardless, both of them. McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk, an hour and 6 minutes from now. This has been the Pat McAfee Show, April 28th from Indianapolis,
Indiana!